know.
go.
Listen here, I can tell you. Cary, scoot right up. You know we're live right now.
Good.
We're rolling.
Good. Thank you, Brother Jeff, for having me. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
You seem real cool.
Oh, you're nice to say that. Thank you.
You seem cool. I mean, I was watching. You got a little swag about yourself.
Well, I don't know about swag, but
Well,
thank you.
Well,
I appreciate that.
But you went to Manual High School.
I did. My husband and I both went to Manual High School. Absolutely loved it. I'm sorry, Thunderbolts. I know you're a Patriot, so this is a tough conversation.
Yeah. Well,
I was trying to remember whether we beat you that year.
It's not really. It's no distinction.
There's
the big Patriots. I mean, you went to Manual because you wanted to go to George.
I'll tell you, my kids went to George. So my daughter's graduating this year from GW. My son graduated a couple years, so we're a split household.
I love that.
But I'm loyal to the Bolts. Sorry.
I love that, and you are over here in Bolts territory right now.
I am. I'm back at home. It's great. It's fun to be here.
I'll tell you what. You got a cool website. I was just checking out your website.
Thank you. You like our dog?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a wild child.
you're up on a mountain and you are throwing snowballs at each other.
Yeah.
Do you really do that?
Yes, of course. We got teenagers. We have snowball fights.
This is
I just have to get my kids back for all the times that they have,
you've got to
surprise launched snowballs into my head.
Let me go ahead and I'm going to pin a comment right here. I'm going to post that right there.
We spend a lot of time in the mountains. We really love it.
That's what I like about Colorado the most. Like, if you travel to any of the, to California or, you get water. A lot of people like the water. Mm-hmm. And you just can't really get in it. You know what I mean? You got to get your boat. You got to get your gear. But the mountains, you can just go hit a trail.
You can just go hit a trail. And I love the solitude, the quiet. It's so peaceful. It's so beautiful. And you hear me a lot on this campaign talking about protecting that.
I forgot to tell you in advance, you are responsible for reading the trigger alert.
Okay, I had good staffing. They told me I was going to do this.
Great.
Trigger alert. This is a show that triggers people because you've entered a free think zone. If you're not willing to be exposed to other points of view, tune out now and don't read the comments. You've been warned.
You've been warned. Give her a round of see. We've got some free thinkers in here.
That's good.
We're in the free think zone.
We need them. We have a lot of free thinkers in Colorado.
Yeah, how deep do you want to get into this conversation?
How deep would you like to get into this conversation?
Let's go. Rack them up, let's roll. But really, I enjoyed your website. A lot of people on there that I know. Let me go over here. I want to go to your endorsement link right here. And
you had one of my endorsers on your show yesterday, I understand.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Big Shot.
Yes, Mr. Big Shot. So my husband was his doctor for a long time, which is how I know Chauncey Billups.
Well, Chauncey said he's going to be watching.
Good.
He said that.
Hey, Chauncey.
Said you all are tight.
He's wonderful. His whole family is wonderful, and he's been a great help on the campaign. Helped headline an event that, as you can imagine, a lot more people come to see Chauncey Billups than come to see Cary Kennedy. So it's great. He's a huge help. He's a big supporter, and I really appreciate it. I have so much respect and admiration for him.
Well, I tell you all, 30 Minutes with Brother Jeff. I'm hanging out with Cary Kennedy. She's running to be the next governor of Colorado. And as you know, this program is powered by the people, the work that we do. Go to brotherjeff.com, hit the donation link, and make a contribution of any amount. Cary, we're going to raise $1 million. We're in the process of raising $1 million.
That's fantastic. I think you'll get there.
And you have to raise a lot of money too, don't you?
I do. I actually have to raise more than that.
How much is it going to cost to keep your candidacy viable?
reaching now 2 million voters in the Democratic primary and then reaching the general audience in November. It costs a lot of money, and one of the things that's interesting in this race is I look at how my daughter gets information. She's 18 years old, and I look at how my mother gets information, and neither of them get any information from the same source. We're really changing the way people get information, and so for a candidate, reaching all those different demographics and age groups, you really have to be visible in social media. You also have to be visible in traditional media, and you need to be out around the state talking to people, doing events. So it's going to be several $1 million to win this race, Brother Jeff, and I think I'm in a good position. I have the support of groups like Emily's List nationally that help raise money for strong Democratic women candidates to win these seats, and I've got a great shot at winning this.
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do is I want to give you the opening moment to just kind of tell folks about yourself and anything that you want them to know.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I've served as part of Colorado's leadership team here for many years, including serving as the state treasurer. I manage the state's finances here in Colorado throughout the economic crisis, and we've been able to keep our state on good, strong financial footing. We've been able to build what is now ranked as one of the top economies in the country. But I am concerned that our success, our progress isn't reaching everyone. And you'll hear me talk a lot on this campaign about the work that we need to do as a state to ensure that everyone in our community benefits from our success. There are three big areas, priorities that I am focused on for this state. My top priority is public education. It is unacceptable that we have one of the top ranked economies in the country, and our investment in education, in our kids, ranks at the bottom in the country. That's K-12 education and higher education. We have kids all across this state that are not getting the opportunities that they need to be successful, and quite frankly, I think it has hurt children of color the most. We have kids going to schools where they just simply don't have the support, they don't have the resources to be able to compete.
You're familiar with Peter Groff's father.
Yes, Regis.
Regis Groff.
Yes.
He told me something a long time ago that really rung true to me. He said that when Colorado was booming with all the oil money and it was head over heels with money, it still was at the bottom of the list in terms of funding education.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that a shame?
Yeah, see, I believe what we do is, you know, there are a lot of people with degrees in Colorado, but we import them.
Yes, we do.
What do we do to change that around? And talk about, because a lot of people like to say Tabor is one of the reasons too.
You really know this. Good for you. It is one of the reasons. And when you look at why Colorado ranks at the bottom in funding education, it absolutely is Tabor. We had an out-of-state, extreme conservative, anti-tax agenda come into Colorado nearly 30 years ago and put an amendment in our Constitution that has required us, it has forced us to cut education funding for what is now nearly 3 decades. And I have been part of the leadership that has taken on Tabor for the last 25 years. I was the author of an amendment, the only measure that's passed in Colorado in 30 years, that increased funding for public education and avoided cuts that would have been required under our Tabor Amendment. I also helped develop the last balanced budget agreement that the voters approved that took on Tabor. You will see me as governor lead to build the bipartisan coalition to pass permanent Tabor reform here in our state.
Wow. So
that we can adequately and equitably fund our schools.
I want to talk education because that's one of the it's one of the big issues in this part of town. Now I've broken this down into 2 teams. Okay?
Am I on the good team?
No, it's not good or bad. This is the free think zone. This is the free think zone. So there may not be a right answer. It's just, you know, we don't tell people what to think. We just tell them to think. Okay. So there's team reformers.
Yep.
And then there's the team transformers. Now, Do you consider yourself to be an integral part or a part of the team reformers?
So this is one of the big challenges that we face in this state, is that we have two teams. We need to have one team all rowing in the same direction to improve the public schools in this state. No, my track record, I'm not affiliated with DEFR or any of the...
So you're not a Democrat for education reform?
I am supportive of the work that we are doing in this state that really recognizes the unique learning needs of children. So there's been some really important progress made in understanding how to individualize a curriculum, how to support a student where they are. We have a lot of kids showing up to school with stressful home environments. They're growing up in a, what I think the experts call toxic stress. And they come to school needing support. They need support from their peers, they need support from counselors, they need support from their teachers, they may need some support from tutoring as they, if they fall behind during a particularly difficult week. So we have to take a look at the whole need of our child,
That's kind of a philosophy I've been hearing. 30 minutes with Cary Kennedy. Whole child. People have been talking that's kind of like the education lingo lately, the whole child.
Yeah, because education is about a lot more than just a standardized test. And I am worried that our state has gotten too focused on high stakes testing, that we're blaming our teachers, and they see the challenges every day in their classrooms. They know what their kids need. You may have read this on my website. I grew up with 4 brothers and sisters, 3 who joined my family through the foster care system, and 1 who joined my family through her church. So I grew up with brothers and sisters that didn't have the opportunities that I had been given. And I really saw firsthand the need for additional support throughout the day, throughout the course of the school year, for them to be able to really master the academic content that we're asking them to master. So there are elements of the reform movement that I think are really positive.
You're a bridge.
I'm a bridge.
The school closures work? Has that proven to be a successful approach in... It's communities of color, the most vulnerable that you're talking about, are often exposed to radical change in their educational journey, including school closures. Is school closures a viable option for the populations that you're talking about?
Not if the community doesn't embrace it. You have to work with the folks that are in that community. They need to be invested in their school.
Can you say that again? I want you to say that to the school board. and I mean, because in this part of town, all of the schools have been either turned around, closed down,
including my
restarted.
alma mater, Manual.
Yes. Now, I want to ask you about that. When Manual was closed down, did you take a stand on that, or how did you what was your position when your alma mater was closed down?
I think I was hoping that the folks that were involved in that project would really spend a lot of time with the community. Manual lost a lot of students after busing ended. I was bused as a student to Manual, and after the busing order ended,
you were
the
bused
population,
to Manual.
Yes.
From what neighborhood?
Well, and you were bused to GW, right?
I was bused to GW, and I was bused to Hill. I was bused to a school called Slavens. Now, how are you going to send
Slavens.
a black kid to Slavens? I mean, it's just like...
Schools, Brother Jeff, schools are communities. They are a source where friendships are made, where lifelong relationships are made. Kids need relationships with their teachers. What inspires a kid to really go home and drill into their homework and put in those extra hours to do the extra 10 math questions? It's because they have a relationship with their teacher, because they want that teacher to be proud of them and to recognize their work. So the community has to be a part of any kind of transformation.
You would listen to what people say in
Yes,
terms
of
of how it
course.
impacts their lives, and you wouldn't bring a paternalistic approach to a community that says, I know what's best for you.
And that's where you've seen some of the failure.
Okay. I want to get back to this 3 million because Senator Mike Johnston was here. We had a great conversation. I know Mike very well. And he said, I think that the largest contribution you could receive is $1,000.
$1,150.
So how do you get to 3 million, $1,000 at a time? And like I'm raising $1 million, but it's a long road. You know what I mean? You've got a short period of time. What about these PACs and all the other ways that candidates receive money?
So you're bringing up a really important issue, which is campaign finance. And if there's one thing we need to fix in this country, it is campaign finance. Because I sure hope we never get to the point where only millionaires, billionaires, people who are supported by millionaires, can win elected office. And you're absolutely right. To compete in this race with the caps at $1,100, it requires a huge number of people to help support my campaign financially. Thankfully, I have over 5,500 donors around the state who've made a contribution, and I work very hard every day reaching out to supporters around the state, and thankfully they're willing to come in and help support my campaign.
I'm pretty impressed by your parents or whomever agreed to allow you to be bussed into manual, because a lot of white parents, they not only resisted, but they created private schools so that they wouldn't have to be a part of that experiment.
Well, it was one of the best experiences of my life. I loved it.
Who was your first
very
black
important
friend?
To me. Who was my first black friend?
Yeah.
Boy, that's a really good question. It was probably, I knew Michael Hancock in high school. People will know him.
So you're saying Mike was your friend?
He was head boy at Manual. Well,
Okay.
Everybody knew Michael Hancock.
All right. Okay. All right. So you and Michael
There were
hanging?
a lot of them. Manual had a lot. No, I mean, no, I had a different circle of friends. I was in a different class.
So what was it
but I
like
knew
being
him.
exposed to like black folks and like you were like, because my experience being exposed to whites, it was very violent at first because they were rioting, they were catching buses on fire. It was very hostile in terms of the environment that I was bussed into, and there was very little interaction. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to say is, when I look back on that experience, there are a couple really concerning memories. The first one was the segregation within the school. And I was in the accelerated classes, the AP classes, and there were very few black kids in those classes.
And were those at Manual?
They were at Manual, yeah. Back then, Manual and East were partner schools, so we would go back and forth. But it was really concerning at the time. You had a lot of friendships made through sports, a lot of friendships made in the hallways, but the classes were largely segregated. And you see the exact same thing happening today with my daughter over at GW, and she's in the IB program, and you see the IB program being a lot of upper middle class.
The schools are segregated
They are within
by
the
class
school.
and race.
Yeah, and I'll just also share with you the other, tough. I loved the school. I loved being there. But I do remember feeling my privilege when I was there. And I know that there were things that I did that black students got in trouble for. And I got a pass.
Wow.
And I think that continues today. I think this sort of inherent bias, this inherent separation, it is one of the great failures of our time.
We like to say that
we haven't been able to get past this.
Yeah, the language has changed because now we use word bias and implicit bias in exchange for racism, but it's the same thing. But racism is too harsh for today, I guess. But that's what it is. I want to ask you about.
I think it's racism.
You think it's racism?
Yes. I think there's inherent racism in, unfortunately, in our culture, in our economy. I see it in housing. We've had decades of housing policies, banking policies, criminal justice policies, where you have inherent racism that has held the Black community back.
I want to touch about Cary Kennedy, y'all. She's running, and we've got so much to talk about. What separates you? And I asked Senator Michael Johnston what he would like for me to ask you. He said ask her about her position on his educational policies, reform, and work. So what separates you, or how close are you to, in terms of educational philosophy?
So since he asked directly, I have a real concern with tying everything to a high stakes test. So it was his legislation that says when teachers get evaluated in Colorado, it has to be based on their students' performance. And right now we measure that performance through a standardized test. Now I believe that we should measure all kids' progress. We need to hold them to high standards, and we absolutely have to measure their progress. But then to say that the teachers' performance, that how they are doing is dependent on students' test scores. And you know, when kids show up in a classroom and they haven't had breakfast, and they don't have parents at home after school to help them with their chemistry assignment. Mm-hmm. There's a huge difference between children's ability to make progress in school based on the support they have in their lives. And I think that there's a lot outside of a teacher's control. Then we know from national data that very good teachers don't necessarily keep those, see their student test scores be the highest year after year, because it depends on who's in their class. And we want teachers supporting our kids who really come to school with challenges, and not saying, well, I'll get a better performance evaluation if the kids in my class come from a more supported environment.
I was looking at, again, we're looking at your endorsements. I saw some incredible people that I just truly admire. Of course, Mr. Big Shot, Chauncey. I saw Veronica Barella on there. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of Veronica Barella.
Yeah, she's done amazing work in this community.
And I'm a super fan of Anna Jo Haynes.
Yes, I've worked with Anna Jo for years.
She's going to be getting a huge honor this month.
Yeah. She's one of the pillars in this community. Her work giving young children in this community, and particularly young children of color, high quality early learning opportunities, because we know when kids start first grade, there is a huge gap. That achievement gap is there in first grade.
Okay, well, I'll tell you this.
And she's tackling that.
What about the big guy? You're in big guy's country right now. That's Wellington E. Webb.
Yeah.
You're in big guy territory.
Mm-hmm. I'm a friend of Mayor Webb's.
Did he endorse you yet?
Years. He didn't endorse somebody else in the race.
He did?
I believe so.
Who did he endorse?
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he endorsed Mike Johnston.
Now, okay, so with that being said, I know of 3 candidates. Jared Polis reached out yesterday, so he's going to be on the show.
Good, that's great.
Then with Mike Johnston and yourself. Mm-hmm. Those are the only 3 I know. Are there other people running on the Democratic ticket?
Yes. So the lieutenant governor is a candidate, Donna Lynn.
Haven't heard from Donna.
Well, you could reach out to her. I'm sure
no, I don't reach out. They reach out to us. we do no reaching, because we're free thinkers. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, Donna Lynn. Anybody else?
Right now, no. We had some other candidates that didn't make it through the assembly process.
What happened to
Eric Underwood was in the race.
And
Noel Ginsburg.
Noel Ginsburg.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to meet him. We were because the school board race stuff was going on and was busy, and we were trying.
You're busy.
Okay, you got to kick somebody off the island.
Yes.
I heard you did well at the state assembly.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I ended up earning more votes statewide through the caucuses than all the other candidates in this race combined, and came out of the assembly with twice as many votes as my second closest competitor, that's Congressman Polis. It is a great platform to win the governor's race here in Colorado, and as you know, I, if elected, would serve as the first female governor of the state.
I want to ask you something about the female portion. A woman told me I can't use the word female. So I use
Really?
I use woman. They said it was
Okay, I'd be
offensive.
the first woman governor of the state.
Yeah, but I'm not. You can because you are a woman. There's certain things I can't do, but and when they say it, I just cut it.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to go toe to toe with one of those candidates. Who are you gonna battle with? Because everybody else has to go.
You know,
You and who?
we have a lot of good people
No, I
in this
wanna
race.
see you
I
and
think
who.
that Congressman Polis will be my toughest competition in this
Okay.
race. If you look at the polling data, he and I poll the strongest. Everybody else in this race isn't as nearly as well known statewide, and it makes sense. Congressman Polis and I have both been in public life, in public roles for a very long time. I have been working in communities around Colorado for 25 years.
Well, then let me ask you this: make a distinction now between you and Polis.
All right. Well, that's the biggest distinction. Is I have been working in Colorado communities for decades, helping those communities solve some of their toughest challenges. I helped start the Child Health Plan here in Colorado, covering tens of thousands of low-income kids with health insurance. I worked in communities to help have nurse home visits for first-time low-income moms who have their first child, and they need that additional support. I worked in communities to increase school funding, and
So
right
he hasn't
now
done any of that?
he's been in Washington for most of his career. It's a very different background.
He's not going to have a hard time raising $3 million.
He's not going to raise $3 million. He's got it, and he's spending his own money in his campaign.
Hashim said I need to bring Noel Ginsburg on. Has he endorsed you?
Noel Ginsburg is helping support me in this race. He is not making an official endorsement.
Wow. Okay. Sue Sam says that female does not offend her, so we're not on shaky ground.
Thank you, Sue.
We're not on shaky ground. Tell me how many black folks are in your inner circle of your team that's helping you win the state, and then what are they telling you in terms of how to reach the black community? Because I can diagnose your campaign from this seat right now and kind of see where you're at with the black people.
Yeah, so I, from the beginning, have been engaging the black community in this campaign, and it is really important to me that I build a relationship with the black community, and that they are a part of my campaign and also a part of my administration when I am governor.
Are they a part of your administrative campaign team? Because if they're not a part of the campaign, it makes me weary to think that they will be part of the administration.
I am glad you asked this question because I told my campaign manager early on this was a priority for me, and we have made offers to several black candidates for positions on the campaign, and for a variety of reasons it didn't work out. Some were personal. The campaign staff work, when people have taken a look at it, it's just really long hours
Open
if they
position.
have children. We do have an open position
Free
right now,
thinkers. Open
and
position.
I really want
Free
thinkers and a lot of diversity on my
Yeah.
team. So people can email right now my campaign at info@ck4gov ck4gov.com, info, and the campaign website is CaryKennedyForGovernor.com. They can also just send an email with their resume, call the campaign. Yes, we are hiring.
Don't forget Les Franklin, the Shaka Franklin Foundation. They're doing their luncheon. I need you to go ahead and call 303-337-2515. Shaka Franklin Foundation. Get your ticket. Support what the Shaka Franklin Foundation has been doing for many years. And also the Lighthouse Project, the group, they're going to be at the Cultural Center this Saturday during Black Dollar Saturdays. Cary, Killmonger, hero or villain?
Oh, goodness, I don't know.
Hard to.
What would you say?
I would say that Killmonger was struggling with the hurt of his past, and it guided his leadership in a way that was true to his name, Killmonger. led to a lot of killing. So Black Panther, what did you take out of that movie?
I haven't actually seen the movie yet. I would love to see that movie.
See,
And this campaign
you
is
gotta
just
do
not
it.
letting me get to the theaters.
That black staffer would have said, Cary, let's go sit in
My
here.
daughter has seen it.
Okay, we're gonna have
but I haven't made it.
We're gonna have a conversation about Black Panther, you and I.
Okay.
Soon.
I will text you as soon as my
We'll
staff
talk
lets
about
me
it.
see the movie.
If you're in a courtroom, are you the prosecution or the defense?
Defense.
Defense. I like that. I like that.
I mean, I have tremendous respect for prosecutors and the work that they do. I mentioned to you, I grew up with three brothers and sisters who joined my family through the foster care system. They had been victims of horrific violence themselves, and they, a couple of them were involved in the criminal justice systems themselves. So I spent my childhood watching the challenges that we face with the criminal justice system. And, I remember being offered an opportunity to go tour the Denver jail in my position of CFO of the city of Denver. And I just sort of smiled and said, I don't need to tour the Denver jail because I went there a lot as a child.
What did you learn about the Black
brother.
Lives Matter movement? Talk a little bit about the Black Lives Matter movement, just in like a tweet response.
Black Lives Matter. That would be my tweet response. How many characters do I get?
No, go. I mean, what was the significance of, or is the significance of the Black Lives Matter movement?
Like I said earlier, I believe that policies that have gone on for decades, that have inherent bias in them, in housing, in sentencing, in the entire criminal justice system, has translated into a real loss and a real inequity and a real inequality. And a lot of black leaders, I think rightfully, have stood up and said, this isn't right. The earnings gap, the wage gap between blacks and whites has increased since I was born.
Can the
The
governor
education
do anything
attainment
about
gap
that?
has increased.
Can the governor impact
Absolutely.
those outcomes? How?
Of course.
How?
Well, you have to start with opportunity. You have to start with what opportunities are people getting. If you look at my housing policy, I'm calling for the state to create a affordable housing fund for the first time, to support communities in preserving and constructing affordable housing. You have to also, when you look at housing, you've got to look at what's happening with evictions. We have single moms with kids who are being evicted from their homes, and they're behind on their rent $200. That should never happen. In the criminal justice system, you've got inherent bias from early identification, like I talked about, kids getting in trouble at school. One of the most troubling statistics I have heard on this campaign, Brother Jeff, is that 10% of black boys in this state are suspended or expelled from school by the end of third grade.
Well, and I can tell you what.
That is a stigma they carry forward the rest of their lives.
My daughter wanted to desperately go to a school called McCullough. And guess what? That school is 1 block away from my house. And they have to hope to get into a school that's right in their own neighborhood. Isn't that crazy?
That doesn't make any sense. If choice is going to mean anything in education, your neighborhood school has to be a great choice.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're at dinner, let's say Thanksgiving, and you've got that family member or friend who comes in and he's talking about, oh, that gosh darn Kaepernick, hating America, disrespecting our flag. We need to get them all out of there.
They wouldn't be at my house for dinner.
That's a good response.
And I'm not a very...
That's a good response. Okay, now we're going to keep plugging right away. Environment. I want to talk about the environment.
Yeah.
Because it was a very windy day yesterday. I mean, when there's strong winds, I think they call it a gale. or something like that.
We had a gale.
Gale force winds and sand blowing all over the place. And it's because the current administration said that it's important for us to prepare for a 100-year flood. So they tore down 100-year-old trees in the golf course where ordinary people used to participate in a very elite, privileged sport. What do you think about the City Park golf course being blazed down in preparation for a 100-year flood? And that's why the winds came, because the trees aren't there.
I'm not sure. I think the winds
No,
came
it's the
because
trees are gone.
Because of natural
Park Hill
atmospheric
never had these
dynamics.
kind of gale winds until the 100-year-old trees.
Now we've had gale force winds, but I
Let's
think
talk environment, and then,
all right,
and then
let's talk
also
environment. So
tie
you-
in the let's bring in the Native American kind of worldview, because I've seen people literally cry when trees have
get cut
been
down. Yeah,
cut
and
down.
those are just spectacular old, gorgeous trees on that Park Hill golf course. Let me just first say I put Colorado's environment at the top of my agenda as governor of this state. We have a lot to protect here. And the impacts of growth and development in our state, the impacts of the changes in the climate, they are a real threat to our state's natural environment. So you will hear me talk on this campaign about protecting our open space. We are forecasting, another 4 to 5 million people to move into Colorado. So protecting our open space, our public lands, our air quality, our water quality, and positioning Colorado as a national leader on transitioning to clean, renewable sources of energy. And I don't need to tell you this, the impacts of pollution, the impacts of dirty air and dirty water and dirty soil impact low-income communities, they impact communities of color the most. And so that is just something we all have to work on as we go forward. But you're going to see me be a strong champion for protecting Colorado's environment.
Well, I would also like to say or think about this. If elected governor and a right to rest bill came to you, would you sign a right to rest bill? What's your position on the homeless and individuals who are not able to even live in the cities they were born and raised in, and are criminalized through legislation?
Yes.
That makes it even harder for them to access their community. Where are you at with right to rest, homelessness, etc.?
Yeah, we criminalize poverty, and one of the projects, programs I am most proud of in my career is I developed a program that is moving, or has moved now, 250 chronically homeless individuals out of Denver's criminal justice system, out of the jail, and into permanent supportive housing. So when we move people, they have to have a place to live. There's a reason they're on the street. They don't have a place to live. And it is much cheaper for the taxpayers and much better for the individuals to provide supportive housing than it is to have chronically homeless individuals cycling through the criminal justice system.
Then add to that how the city jail or probably state jail systems are the number one housing place for people who are mentally ill.
Yes.
What are we going to do
We're
about
criminalizing mental illness. Yes. So it costs less to pay for someone's supportive housing than it does to pay for them to cycle in and out of jail and through the courts and detox and the entire criminal justice system. So what I did is developed a program where the permanent supportive housing is being paid for out of the savings that are realized because they're not in jail.
Wow.
And we can replicate that model statewide. It will save taxpayers money. It will help our homeless individuals, many of whom are mentally ill, many of whom face struggle with addiction. It will help get them permanent supportive housing paid for out of the savings.
Let me ask about this because I know there's going to be a lot of housing built if we get the Olympics. They will build housing not for
You
poor
ask
people,
every tough question.
but they will build. You will see housing. You'll see an Olympic Village. You will see media play. Everyone will have a place to stay if we get the Olympics. Where do you stand on the Olympics?
I think that a lot of people are rightfully raising concerns about Colorado hosting the games because they are experiencing the impacts of growth in their neighborhoods, in their communities. And people who have lived in neighborhoods for generations are being forced out. Their kids can't afford to live where they grew up. People can't afford to live close to where they work. We're seeing gentrification of neighborhoods, and you're losing the historic cultural identity of the neighborhood, and you lose when that happens, you lose a lot of the social network, the community fabric, the ties that bind people together. And so when people hear about the Olympics or Amazon or some other big development project, it sounds like there's just going to be more of that, and it's going to continue to impact.
So are you for it or
hurt.
against it, or you're because
So those are the questions.
You're a bridge. I'm getting a lot of bridge. They're bridge answers, and they're good answers.
Thank you. These are the issues
For
you
or
have to
against
look
the
at.
Olympics?
These are the issues you have to look at in looking at Colorado hosting the games. One of the reasons we're being looked at as a state to host the Winter Games is we have most of the venues already constructed. The question becomes, can you host the game in ways that help us accomplish our objectives? Can you build affordable housing in communities that will allow people who live there to be able to stay there and temporarily use them? I don't know the answer to these questions.
Do me a
Will
favor
we be able to upgrade transit?
Transportation. We haven't even talked transportation yet. Oh my. Listen, Cary, I've got to ask you this. And by the way, when you get in those circles and they're talking about the Olympics, we know gentrification displaces people.
Yeah.
And the Olympics has also displaced people because poor people have been moved out of cities and environments to give cities a certain look. And that's kind of documented. Look into that. But I want to know, Cary, what are you going to be doing on 420 at 420?
I can tell you what I'm not going to be doing.
What are you not going to be doing?
On 420 at 420.
Okay, then what are you not going to be doing on 420 at 420?
Look, I respectfully understand that that's an important day for folks to show their support for the marijuana industry, but I tend to watch that on the news.
Do you support the marijuana industry?
I do. I'm really proud of the progress Colorado has made as, kind of the front runner nationally in this experiment of legalizing marijuana. I will tell you, I voted no for the measure. I have 2 teenagers, and I just mind-altering substances aren't the value that I want to teach my kids. But I am proud of the way Colorado has done this. It's been not without its challenges, and I know there are some communities that are really feeling like it's not working. But when you look statewide, at least right now, most people think we've done a pretty good job.
Well, we've got Kyra Kennedy. We're about to wrap things up. I'm telling you, if you're enjoying the show, go to brotherjeff.com, make a donation of any amount, and you will get a Black Community of Colorado card. You can be an official card-carrying member. You don't have to be black, but you can have a black card. Listen, Cary, this will be a way that you can make that black friend.
Oh, stop.
I'm talking that close. Who would you give it to? Who would you give that card to? You got to keep it for a while, because people just can't have that card. They can't. That's a Black Community of Colorado card.
I appreciate this. I will keep this. I don't want to give it away. I'm keeping it.
Give her. All right. All right. I love it. You can have one too, brotherjeff.com. Every Saturday we do Black Dollar Saturdays at Brother Jeff's Cultural Center down the street, and we let the vendors come in. They set up free because we really encourage entrepreneurialism.
Yes.
And business success, throughout the community. Let's change this. Let's turn the corner, because on your website you made reference to the Me Too movement.
Yes.
Now, tell me a little bit about the Me Too movement, because we had a little, I won't say controversy, but some of the guys, we were sitting here talking about the Me Too movement, and women were saying, why would men have a conversation about the Me Too movement? I have an answer for that.
Men need to be having conversations about the Me Too movement.
Thought. But anyway, talk about the Me Too movement and what it means to you.
So I'm really proud of women here in Colorado and across the country who've come forward and told their stories. That is hard to do, and they are standing up and saying they need to be able to go to work, they need to be able to have a professional career where they're not feeling the victims of harassment. And it's a very important movement, and it's inspired a lot of women who I think have held their stories for a very long time and not been public, to be able to come forward. And it is really shined a light on a challenge that is real. And you look at the research that's come out of now the Capitol, and 30+% of the people who work in that building reported having seen or experienced some form of sexual harassment.
Well, the Capitol, they expelled I think at least 2 members.
Yes, just one, just Lebsick.
And then one kind of...
They took a vote, but they did not expel him.
Now, you work closely with Mayor Michael Hancock. What was your response, and what are your thoughts around that whole dynamic around, we know it's not sexual harassment without a legal conclusion. I mean, I get that point, because now it's in the realm of public opinion. What are your thoughts in terms of supporting or not, or where do you stand with this whole Mayor Michael Hancock piece?
Yeah, but it is sexual harassment, even without a legal conclusion. I have said from the beginning his actions were inappropriate, and I have tremendous respect for Mayor Michael Hancock. I worked for him for almost 6 years. I've known him since high school. I never saw anything but first-rate professional conduct towards me and towards my staff in all the years that I worked closely with him. And so I was, it was sad to see those texts, but they're inappropriate. And it has really raised the issue that I think, whether it's in the public sector and government or it's in the private sector, that we don't have the policies in place to really handle this. Women, all people need a place to be able to report an incident where they feel they have been harassed or mistreated at the workplace, and it needs to be confidential, and it needs a thorough investigation, and there needs to be follow through. And we just haven't had that in place. So I think, we're all talking about this issue right now, but because we don't have policies or procedures in place, I think everybody is asking the question, how do we get our arms around this?
Well, you've got a lot of people that were like, really heard you say it is sexual harassment, and we don't need a legal conclusion to get there. We know what it is.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can deny that. The mayor has apologized. He has taken ownership. He has accepted responsibility. He has said his behavior was inappropriate. There are different legal meanings for things, but just on the face of it, it was harassment, and it was of a sexual nature. And so that's, to me, kind of an obvious statement. He has owned it. He has apologized, and he has said that he will work closely with the city to make sure that there's appropriate training and to make sure that we have policies and procedures in place to address these things. But like I said, in all of my years working with the mayor, he was always top notch.
Pretty straight talker on this. I want to say also that $75,000 was paid to Detective Leslie Branch Wise, and people are wondering where that money came from. And you were you had the purse strings. And I think I heard you say that you did not know about the $75,000.
Right.
How is that possible? And how do you respond to those who say, well, how do you miss a $75,000 hit out of a budget or coming from somewhere, because it's not common to pay that level of money
Yeah.
to anyone?
It's a very fair question. I was the CFO of the city at the time, but the way we handled these personnel settlements is we would appropriate a lump sum of money in the budget each year to the city attorney's office. The lawyers, who are the appropriate people to be in the room, would negotiate with the individuals who were involved in that incident and would negotiate that settlement. And quite frankly, you know, there are settlements that are much, much larger than $75,000 that get paid out on things like police brutality cases. We appropriate a lump sum money, sum of money, and the attorneys that are involved then and the mayor negotiate that settlement.
Great job. I mean, it's wonderful. I told you got
I
swag.
appreciate it, brother.
You got swag. I could tell you've been you know, you. I want you to get some black folks on your campaign staff, and that offer is open. You know,
Please apply. Yeah. It's a great campaign to work on. This is the winning gubernatorial campaign.
You're gonna kick butt.
Thank you, sir.
Are you,
Appreciate
that's,
it.
I mean, that's your goal.
I'm gonna win this election.
You're not in this just to expand the conversation.
I'm going to win this election because there are some things we need to get done in this state, and I'm the best person to lead it over the next 4 and hopefully 8 years.
Well, I'm going to give
It's
you.
a real privilege.
We've got some folks here. I'm going to give you the last word, but we've got to touch base on just kind of rapid fire. Do you feel the pressure that I'm sure black politicians felt or feel when they're in leadership positions, that there should be an impact felt for black people based on them being in that position? Do you feel, as a woman, and perhaps the first woman governor, the weight of that responsibility and women saying we should have greater access because you're one of us?
Yeah, well, we should have equality in leadership positions, and not just in government, but in boardrooms and in corporations all across this country. And I will tell you, one of the things I enjoy the most in this work is inspiring and helping young women and young girls around this state find their voice and see themselves as leaders. And it's not just running for office. We're excited to see so many women stepping up and running, but it's seeing themselves as leaders in their families, in their schools, in their neighborhoods, in their communities, and really feeling the personal strength to be able to speak their minds and share their opinions, because their opinions and their input, it matters. It makes a difference.
Wow. Well, as we close, I will tell you this. Looks like you're running a strong campaign.
Yes, we are.
It looks like you're running a strong campaign.
It's a privilege. Colorado's a wonderful state.
I'm going to invite you to, when you all get ready to do your debates, I want to host one.
Well, I would like that.
Because, you know, it would be great to let you all kind of talk to one another amongst the free thinkers.
Yeah.
Because
I really
we're going to
appreciate
swing
it.
this election again.
Well, we're going to hold this seat for the Democrats.
Okay.
It's
Now,
an important seat.
Senator Michael Johnson, he replied to every comment. So in your time, you might want to read and...
Will you forward those to
Yeah,
me?
you can go to my page. Listen, okay, they say I have too many friends, so I can't accept anymore.
Oh,
But
you have more friends than I do.
but we
I'm
trigger-
running for governor.
but we trigger people, so people often drop off. They quit me. And as soon as the next person quits me, I'm going to send you a friend request.
Okay.
But my page is
Thank
open.
you. Thank you, brother.
What happened to our party? What's going? I'm a Democrat. It's not been a lot of excitement. We got whooped by Trump.
There is excitement now. Colorado needs to be a national leader in standing up to the hurtful policies we see coming out of the Trump administration. And whether that's protecting human and civil rights or protecting our environment, Colorado needs to be a national leader. Leadership in the years ahead is going to come from the states. It's going to come from strong governors. And the people of Colorado want us to lead.
What's going to separate you? How are you going to make your mark from Hickenlooper? What would be the difference?
I think Governor Hickenlooper has done a really great job at building Colorado's creative, knowledge, innovative, forward-looking economy. We've seen tremendous job growth under his leadership. And where you're going to see me focus is making sure that progress reaches everyone. And to me, it really starts with the investment we make in our schools and making sure that every single child growing up in this state is getting a first-rate educational foundation and opportunities to go on without going into debt to get advanced education so that they can compete for the great jobs that we're bringing here. So you'll see me continue to grow our jobs here in this state and to bring good jobs to Colorado, but I want to see Coloradans fill those jobs. I don't want to see those companies recruiting from Massachusetts and California. I want them recruiting from right here.
But if it comes down to you against Stapleton, are you going to whoop him this time?
Yes, sir.
You're going to whoop
Yes.
Stapleton? Okay.
Thank you.
They want to change the name of Stapleton. I know it's not him, but it's his, grandfather, I believe. What do you think about the name changing of Stapleton?
I think that the community, the people who live in Stapleton, if they want to change the name of their neighborhood, they should be able to do that.
Wow. There you all have it, Cary Kennedy. I'm going to tell you, we did CP time. We told you 30 minutes.
All right. Thank you.
You get the last word.
Oh, I just want to say thanks so much. Thank you for the work that you do in this community. This really is a privilege to be here. And I would encourage folks, please come help support my campaign. The website's CaryKennedyForGovernor.com. We have a couple events coming up in this community. We've got a event in 5 Points on Friday, May 4th. 5:30 to 7:30 at Coffee at the Point. So come on out, come ask me some questions, come share your thoughts with me. And then another event in Montbello on Thursday, May 4th. That doesn't make any sense.
Montbello Rec Center.
At the Montbello Rec Center, 5:30 to 7 at the Montbello Rec Center. So come on out. Those events will also be posted on my website at CaryKennedyForGovernor.com. I would love the opportunity to sit down and talk to you. So thanks so much. This was
It's been
fun.
a great time. Okay, everybody. Go to BrotherJeff.com, hit donate, make a donation of any amount. We go for 7 donations a day. Tomorrow, Phil Weiser.
Running for Attorney General.
Running for Attorney General. He'll be right here. Next Tuesday, we'll have Morgan Carroll. She's the head of the entire Democratic Party.
We got a fan club.
This is the free think zone. There's no telling who's going to be out there when you come out that door. People, you're here. Don't forget, if you're going down, go down swinging. You might just score a knockout. Rumble, young man and woman. Rumble.
Thank you, Brother Jeff.
Great time.
I'm giving you a hug. Thanks so much. That was fun.